March, as you may or may not know, is considered Autoimmune Disease Awareness Month. And I figured today would be a good day to share with you how I think we're so close yet so far away, and how the leap can be so quickly if I can get people to see something that I think is going on. I know that everywhere around us we have everybody saying the same thing, and I'm saying something different. And so, but I think it makes me think about when I was homeschooling my kids and they wanted to, like when we were doing math and the answer was supposed to be -20, but they had the answer of 20. Well, their argument would be, oh, but it's so close. It's just a negative sign. Well, yeah, on paper, yes, it looks like they're really close to having the correct answer. However, if you were to actually put that 20 and -20 on a number line, they're really far apart. And so I don't know if you can track with me with that analogy or not, but that's where I think we are at with chronic inflammation. I think we have all the pieces in place. We have the number 20, but we don't have the sign correct. And I think the sign is the word chronic inflammation, for one thing, I think is misleading, because what the current narrative is that you get acute inflammation, because acute inflammation is something that the body really needs in order to fight whatever it needs to get out of its system. And then what they believe is this inflammation, if it goes on for a long period of time, you now have chronic inflammation. And when you have chronic inflammation, you're getting tissue damage and nutritional deficiencies. That is the common narrative, and it's been the common narrative for decades. What I want to suggest is that I think we are looking at the problem wrong. And if we just change it a tiny bit, put in the correct sign, so to speak, then I think we could make a lot more progress in what we're figuring out. I believe that yes, we have the acute inflammation like we're supposed to, and how that does its job like it's supposed to, but I think what happens is there's something that goes wrong in the programming of the lymphatic system during the acute inflammation. Because of that wrong programming, that's when I think the loss of nutrients come into play. And with the loss of nutrients, the body cannot keep doing what it was supposed to be doing with the acute inflammation, and therefore that is what makes it become chronic. We're just switching the chronic and the nutritional deficiencies, we're just switching places. And by switching those two positions, I believe changes the question, changes everything. And I think it gets us pointed in the right direction, and that we can solve the problems very quickly if we were to just consider this. And the thing that's kind of difficult about explaining something new, especially if it's different than what everybody else is saying, is that there's like, ooh, that's woo-woo, or that's not accurate, or that's weird science, or something like that. But it's not the case. It's just something new. Someone had to think of something new. And so then, like, my dish hypothesis that I'm trying to share with the world is something new. However, the 5 scientific principles that I combined together to come up with this idea isn't new. And so there's science behind it. But the key thing here, though, I think that switching the order of how we see chronic inflammation and acute inflammation and nutritional deficiencies, just switching that order changes the questions, changes the problem, and I believe it puts us in the right direction of coming up with real answers to make a difference. Because logically, what makes more sense? The immune system is designed to fight bad guys to help us to get better. And the current situation is the immune system is fighting bad guys to get better, and then it changes its mind and starts fighting good guys? Makes no sense, right? Whereas logically, it makes more sense to say, okay, we have acute inflammation. It's doing its job. It's starting to run low on the good guys to do its job. So now it cannot do its job properly, henceforth the chronic inflammation. I know it's just a small little, and so with that in mind, what I believe is the chronic inflammation, I think, would be better categorized being called compromised inflammation. Because when we say chronic inflammation, we're like acute, going on for a long time, is chronic. Whereas I think acute, the information to the lymphatic system gets compromised, and therefore the inflammation is unable to finish doing its job. Just a play on words there, acute versus compromised. What do you think?